The twin suns of Pandora 9 sank behind the floating cliffs, painting the sky with fire and gold. The air shimmered with blue mist that smelled of metal and rain. Far above, great winged creatures, Ikrans, screamed and circled in the stormy sky. It was a sight that made even brave men shiver. Below, in the wide open ground near the training cliffs, a crowd had gathered. Hundreds of alien riders stood in a circle, their skin glowing faintly under the bioluminescent vines. Their eyes burned with excitement. Something rare was about to happen tonight. A small human ship had landed. Its engines still smoked and the sand hissed where the heat touched it. The hatch opened and Captain Ryan Holt stepped out. His flight suit was old, patched many times. His helmet was scratched, his boots dusty. But his eyes were calm, too calm. He looked around like a man who had seen worse things than this. A whisper ran through the crowd. "A human? What is he doing here? He can't be serious." At the front stood Kalira, the youngest Ikran rider of her tribe and one of the best. She had violet skin, short silver hair, and eyes that glowed like molten amber. She crossed her arms and looked at the human with a smirk. "So you're the one they call a pilot?" she said loudly. "You fly metal birds, yes? Machines that cannot breathe the wind?" The crowd laughed. Ryan didn't move. He looked up at her Ikran, which stood proudly behind her. It was a magnificent creature, huge, with scales that changed colors like liquid fire and wings that shimmered with light. The creature hissed when it saw him, as if it already hated the smell of a human. Kalira walked closer, her voice mocking. "If you are a real pilot," she said, "prove it. Ride my Ikran." The laughter of the crowd grew louder. Some shouted that no human could ever do it. Others began to chant, "Ride it. Ride it." Ryan stood still for a moment. His hand rested on the side of his helmet. Then he smiled, not a big smile, but a quiet one. A smile that didn't show fear. "All right," he said softly. "If that's what it takes." Kalira's grin faltered for a second. She hadn't expected him to agree. "You don't understand," she said. "An Ikran chooses its rider. It kills those it does not choose." Ryan stepped forward, the wind blowing dust around his boots. "Then I'll find out if it chooses me." The crowd went silent. Even the Ikran stopped moving, watching the human with its golden eyes. Kalira felt a strange chill run down her spine. Something about this human was different. He wasn't shaking, wasn't nervous, and his voice was steady. Most men ran away when they saw her Ikran up close. But this one walked toward it like he had done this before. "You think bravery will save you?" she called. "No," Ryan said. "But maybe respect will." He took off his helmet, showing a scar across his cheek and a pair of calm gray eyes. He looked up at the creature towering over him. The Ikran hissed, wings spreading wide. The force of the wind almost pushed Ryan back. He raised one hand slowly, palm open. He didn't speak. He just stood there, letting the creature see him, smell him, understand him. The crowd waited. Kalira crossed her arms, unsure if she wanted him to succeed or fail. Ryan's heart pounded, but his mind was clear. He remembered the mission. His secret mission. His orders were simple. Test if human pilots could connect to alien creatures through a neural interface. Every attempt before had ended in death. But he believed it was possible. He had to believe. The Ikran's eyes narrowed. It moved its head closer, teeth flashing like knives. Ryan didn't flinch. His lips moved slightly, whispering something, an old Earth code, a pilot's mantra. "Steady sky, open wings," he murmured. The Ikran's nostrils flared. Its breath was hot and sharp like lightning. Then slowly it stopped growling. Kalira's eyes widened. That had never happened before. The beast was curious, watching him, not attacking. "What are you doing?" she shouted. Rion didn't answer. He reached to his neck and touched a small metal band, the neural link used to connect with ships. The same band that now glowed faintly blue. The Ikran's eyes glowed in response. Gasps filled the air. The crowd stepped back. Kalira's heart raced. She had seen many humans try, but never this. Ryan whispered again, his voice barely a breath. "Let's fly." The Ikran screamed, loud and wild, but it didn't strike. It lifted its head high and spread its wings wide, thunder rolling in the distance. Ryan looked back at Kalira, his face calm. "You said prove it," he said. "I will." The crowd didn't laugh this time. They watched in silence as the human took another step closer to the creature, his hand only inches from its skin. Above them, lightning flashed, painting the sky white. And in that moment, Just before the storm broke, Kalira realized something terrifying. The human might actually do it. The storm rolled over the cliffs, cracking the sky into 1,000 sparks of light. The crowd still murmured in disbelief. No one had ever seen an Ikran pause before a human. No one but Kalira. She stared at Captain Ryan Holt as he stood before the creature. His hand hovered inches from its glowing scales, yet he looked calm, almost peaceful. The air around him hummed like an invisible current connected them both. It wasn't just bravery. There was something else, something hidden. Kalira's father, the tribe's chief, stepped forward from the shadows. His deep voice echoed through the mist. "Step back, human," he warned. "You play with forces older than your kind." But Ryan didn't move. He looked at the old warrior and nodded politely. "With respect, sir," he said. "Some forces need to be understood, not feared." The chief frowned. The alien crowd whispered again, unsure if the human was bold or foolish. Behind his quiet face, Ryan's mind was racing. He remembered the mission file hidden in his ship, Operation Skybond. The words burned in his memory like fire. Test the neural bridge between human pilots and non-terrestrial neural systems. The scientists back on Earth had called it a myth, but Ryan had volunteered anyway. He didn't tell them why. Years earlier, before Pandora 9, Ryan had been part of an elite flight squad known as the Seraphs. They flew through storms that could melt steel. They were called ghost pilots because few ever returned. Ryan had survived, but not everyone did. His best friend Mara had been lost on a test mission. The last words he heard from her over the comm were, "If we could fly like them, Ryan, really fly, maybe we wouldn't crash." Those words stayed with him. When the Skybond project began, he saw it as her dream, and his chance for redemption. If humans could bond with alien creatures, they could learn to move with the sky itself, not against it. But the experiments had failed. Every pilot who tried to link their neural band to alien life had died in agony. Their minds couldn't handle the connection. Ryan was the last volunteer left. And now on Pandora 9, he was standing before the greatest creature of all, the Ikran. Lightning flashed again. The Ikran hissed, spreading its wings. The connection between man and beast trembled like a heartbeat. Ryan could feel it, faint pulses like whispers in his skull. He didn't hear words, but emotions, fear, curiosity, rage. The creature was alive in his mind. He stepped closer. The crowd gasped. Even Kalira took a step back, her pride melting into awe. "He's not fighting it," she whispered. "He's listening." Ryan's neural band glowed brighter, feeding off the Ikran's bioelectric field. The human technology once made for ships was now bridging minds. He could sense the storm through the Ikran's senses. Every drop of rain, every gust of wind, every flash of light. He had never felt anything like it. For a brief moment, he wasn't human. He was sky. Then, suddenly, pain tore through him. His knees buckled and he screamed. The link was too strong. The Ikran reared back, shrieking as if the same fire burned through it. Kalira ran forward. "Stop it, you'll die!" But Ryan forced himself to stay on his feet. His voice was hoarse. "No, not yet. I can handle it." He dug his boots into the ground, fighting the storm inside his skull. His vision blurred, colors spinning, memories mixing with alien instincts. He saw flashes of his past. Earth, Mara, the academy, the promise he made to fly for real one day. He clenched his teeth and focused on one thought: trust. Slowly, the storm eased. The Ikran's wings lowered, its eyes meeting his again. The pain faded into warmth. The bond stabilized. Kalira stopped running. Her heart pounded as she watched the impossible happen. A human standing before a bonded Ikran alive. "It accepted him," someone whispered. "No, it chose him," said another. Ryan exhaled, the air trembling around him. The neural light on his band dimmed, settling into a soft blue. He reached up and touched the creature's neck gently. It didn't move away. "You're not a monster," he said quietly. "You're a pilot too." The Ikran blinked, then gave a slow rumbling sound, like thunder trapped inside its chest. Kalira stepped closer, her pride gone, replaced by something new, respect, and maybe even fear. "Who are you, human?" she asked softly. Ryan turned his head toward her. His eyes glowed faintly from the link's light. "Just a pilot," he said. "One who still remembers how to listen." The wind howled between the cliffs. The storm rolled farther away, leaving the world quiet once again. But deep inside Ryan's ship, his mission recorder blinked red, saving every second of what had just happened. Human and Ikran had connected, truly connected. And somewhere, far beyond the stars, the scientists of Earth would soon learn that Pandora 9 was no longer just a world of study. It was the beginning of a legend. The sky broke open. A roar like thunder echoed from the cliffs as the Ikran lifted its wings high, scattering dust and blue mist in every direction. The crowd stepped back, shielding their faces. The air smelled of lightning and fear. Captain Ryan Holt stood in the center of it all, his hand still resting on the glowing scales of the creature. He could feel its heartbeat through his skin, deep, powerful, ancient. Every pulse was like the rhythm of the storm, but the Ikran was not calm. Not anymore. Its body trembled, its wings twitched with fury. The neural link had connected, but the bond was unstable. The creature's mind was wild, vast, untamed. And now it was inside Ryan's head. Kalira shouted from the edge of the platform, her voice sharp with panic. "Human! Let go! It will tear you apart!" But Ryan couldn't hear her clearly. The roar of the Ikran was too loud inside his mind. It wasn't just sound. It was emotion, rage, pain, confusion. He staggered backward, clutching his head. Flashes filled his vision, images of the creature's memories. He saw endless skies, burning storms, battles fought between beasts in the clouds. He saw the death of riders who had fallen and the grief that followed. The Ikran had lost many. It didn't trust. It didn't forgive. Now it wanted to see what kind of soul this human truly carried. Rian's voice cracked as he gasped. "You want a pilot? Then fly with me." He reached for the Ikran's reins, but the creature screamed, its eyes blazing gold. It reared up and swung its massive head, knocking him off his feet. The ground shook when he fell. Gasps spread through the alien crowd. Some shouted for the guards to stop the beast. Others yelled for Kalira to end the madness. But Kalira hesitated. There was something in Rian's eyes as he stood up again. Something she couldn't name. Not just bravery, not arrogance. It was connection. He looked straight into the Ikran's eyes, breathing hard. "You think I'm weak," he said softly. "But you're wrong. I've faced the sky before. I've lost it. I've bled for it. I am a pilot." The creature growled, wings rising again. The storm above began to move with it, as if the sky itself answered to the beast's will. Wind tore through the cliffs. Lightning crawled across the clouds like veins of light. Rian took a deep breath, his neural band pulsing brighter with each heartbeat. He raised his arm again, slowly, carefully, reaching for the Ikran's neck. For a moment, time froze. The Ikran's nostrils flared. It lowered its head, inches from his face. Its golden eyes studied him, burning like molten metal. Then, without warning, it lunged. Kalira screamed. The crowd scattered, but instead of striking him, the creature stopped just before impact, its breath hot on his skin. The energy between them hummed like a song. Rian didn't move. He whispered, "You're not my enemy. You're the sky I've been chasing." The Ikran tilted its head, confused. The fury in its body began to fade. It could feel something different in this man, something familiar. Pain, loss, but also courage. The storm suddenly shifted. Thunder cracked louder than before, and rain began to fall in thick, glowing drops. The Ikran spread its wings, lifting Ryan off the ground with one sudden motion. The crowd gasped as both man and beast rose into the stormy sky. Kalira shouted, "He's going to die!" Her father, the chief, shook his head slowly. "Or he's going to fly." High above the cliffs, Ryan clung to the Ikran's back, the wind slashing across his face. The link was alive, his mind filled with flashes of alien instincts. He wasn't steering it. The Ikran was testing him, diving and twisting through the storm, trying to shake him off. Each drop of rain hit his face like burning ice. The air howled, the lightning blinding him. But still, he held on. He wasn't fighting the creature anymore. He was learning its rhythm, the heartbeat of the sky. Every move it made, he flowed with it. Every dive he leaned, every scream he answered with his own roar. "You're not my mount," he shouted over the thunder. "You're my partner." Something inside the Ikran changed. The fury melted into trust. Its wings steadied. The bond between them pulsed like a single heartbeat. Together they cut through the clouds, rising above the storm into clear, open air. The suns broke through again, painting them in gold. Far below, Kalira and her people watched in silence. The human and the Ikran circled high above the cliffs, glowing like a comet against the sky. Kalira whispered almost to herself, "He did it. He really did it." Her father nodded slowly, his voice low and heavy with meaning. "No human ever rode an Ikran before," he said. "And no Ikran ever chose one." As Ryan and the creature hovered above the world, their eyes met one last time. For the first time, the Ikran's voice spoke clearly in his mind, soft, ancient, and proud. "Now you fly true, Skywalker." Ryan smiled through the stormlight. "Together," he said. And then they dove again, man and beast, bound by fire and sky, straight into legend. The storm had passed, but its voice still echoed across the cliffs. The alien crowd stood frozen, watching the sky where lightning and courage had danced together. For the first time in living memory, an Ikran had flown with a human, and returned alive. Far above, Captain Rian Holt and the mighty creature glided between glowing clouds. The suns of Pandora 9 broke through the haze, turning the world below into rivers of light. Ryan's face was pale and bruised, but his eyes burned with something fierce. Connection. The neural band on his neck still pulsed softly. He could feel the Ikran, not just its body, but its thoughts, its heartbeat, its breath. It wasn't like piloting a machine. This was something alive, real, sacred. The creature's name formed in his mind like a whisper. Karen. Rian smiled. "So that's your name," he said aloud, wind tearing at his voice. The Ikran let out a sharp cry, wings slicing through the air like blades of silver. It felt proud, almost amused. They were no longer enemies. They were partners. Down below, Kalira stared at the sky, unable to move. Her hands trembled slightly as she watched the human flying her people's sacred beast. Every lesson, every law she had grown up with, said this should be impossible. Humans were weak, their minds too simple, their spirits too small to connect with the skyborn. But what she saw above destroyed all those beliefs. "He did it," she whispered. "He truly did it." Her father, the chief, placed a heavy hand on her shoulder. His ancient eyes were full of wonder and warning. "The sky has chosen daughter," he said. "We must see what kind of pilot this human truly is." Up in the clouds, Rian pulled gently on the Ikran's reins, testing their balance. But Karen didn't respond to control. She responded to trust. When he tensed, she resisted. When he relaxed, she flowed with him. He laughed through the wind. "You don't like orders, huh? Fine. Let's fly your way." Karen twisted, diving straight down. The air turned into a scream around them. The cliffs rushed up to meet them, and for a moment Rian thought they were going to die. But just before the rocks, Karen's wings snapped open. They shot upward again, faster than lightning. Ryan's stomach twisted, but he didn't scream. He laughed. He understood now. This wasn't flying with control. This was flying with faith. Every dive, every rise, every sudden roll was a conversation between their souls. The link between them grew stronger, glowing brighter with each heartbeat. Human and beast, two different minds, one shared instinct. Far below, Kalira mounted her own Ikran. The creature let out a shriek, recognizing its rival in the air. Kalira gripped the reins, her eyes narrowing. "If a human can do it," she said softly, "then I'll see if he can keep up." With a sharp command, her Ikran leapt into the sky, chasing Ryan through the clouds. Ryan saw her coming, a streak of violet and blue fire racing toward him. He grinned. "Round 2 already?" Kalira's voice came through the comm in her ear, crackling through static. "Don't think you've tamed her, human. She's still wild." "So am I," Ryan answered. Their Ikrans crossed paths in the air, wings nearly colliding. The sky itself seemed to hold its breath. Kalira's beast screamed in challenge. Karen roared back, not in anger but pride. The two riders circled each other like dancers of wind and light. Sparks of plasma flickered between their wings. The world below looked up in awe. 2 Ikrans, 2 riders, human and alien, bound by the same sky. Then out of nowhere a tremor shook the heavens. A flash of energy exploded in the distance, red, not blue. Kalira gasped. "That's not the storm." Ryan's visor flashed warnings. He recognized the pulse immediately. Drone fire. Someone, or something, was attacking. The peace shattered in seconds. From the clouds above, metallic shapes emerged, 6 black drones armed with plasma cannons. Their lenses glowed red as they locked onto the riders. Ryan cursed under his breath. "We've got company." Kalira's face hardened. "They are not ours." The drones dove, firing streams of plasma. The blasts missed narrowly, exploding against the cliffs. The shockwave nearly threw Ryan from Karen's back. He shouted, "Kalira, we have to split them!" But she was already moving. Her Ikran spun sideways, drawing the drone's fire. Ryan followed, looping beneath her to flank the machines. Karen screamed with fury, lightning crackling off her wings. The bond between man and creature burned brighter than ever. Ryan didn't need to speak. Karen already knew what he wanted, when to dive, when to rise, when to strike. They were one heartbeat, one will. Karen dove toward a drone, claws glowing with charged energy. She struck it full in the chest. The explosion painted the clouds gold. Ryan laughed through the chaos. "That's it, girl. Let's show them what flying really means." Kalira joined him, her Ikran roaring beside his. For the first time, human and alien fought together in perfect rhythm. The remaining drones tried to retreat, but it was too late. The sky belonged to them now. When the last drone fell, the world went silent again. Smoke drifted across the horizon. The suns glowed low and red, painting the 2 riders in firelight. Ryan looked over at Kalira. She met his gaze. There was no pride left in her eyes, only respect. "You fly like no human I've ever seen," she said quietly. "That's because I'm not just a human anymore," Ryan replied, resting his hand on Karen's neck. "I'm part of the sky now." The Ikran let out a deep, thunderous sound, neither a roar nor a purr, something in between. It was the sound of acceptance. The bond was complete. The impossible had become real. And somewhere deep in the endless clouds of Pandora 9, a legend was being born. The sky was torn open by smoke and fire. The last drone exploded into pieces, its burning remains falling through the glowing clouds of Pandora 9. The echoes of battle faded into the distance, leaving only the sound of wind and wings. Captain Ryan Holt sat on Karen's back, breathing hard, his heart hammering like thunder in his chest. His visor flickered with static, his flight suit scorched from plasma burns. But he was alive. And more than that, he was flying. Karen glided through the golden mist, her scales shimmering with electric light. She let out a low, rumbling cry that vibrated through Ryan's bones. He could feel her pride. She was no longer testing him. She had accepted him. Down below, the floating cliffs glowed faintly under the twin suns. The alien crowd watched in silence. Some bowed their heads in respect. Others whispered in disbelief. A human had fought and won the sky. Kalira soared beside him, her Ikran's wings slicing through the air like blades. Her silver hair whipped wildly in the wind. She turned her head and shouted, "That was madness." Ryan laughed breathlessly. "Yeah, but it worked." Kalira shook her head, half smiling, half stunned. "You shouldn't have survived that dive." "Neither should you," he answered, his voice rough from the storm. For a moment, they simply flew together, circling the cliffs. Two shadows racing across the light. The air was cool now, clean after the rain. The storm clouds had broken apart, revealing stars that shimmered faintly even in daylight. The Ikrans flew close enough for Ryan to feel the warmth of Kalira's presence. It was strange. Only hours ago she had mocked him. Now she looked at him like someone seeing the sky for the first time. Then Karen suddenly stiffened beneath him. Her wings shuddered. Ryan's head snapped up. Through the neural link he felt something, not pain but warning. The Ikran's instincts were sharper than any machine's sensors. He scanned the horizon. A storm was forming again, massive and fast, dark clouds swirling with purple lightning. It was not natural, Kalira frowned. That's too soon. The last storm just passed. Ryan adjusted his visor. The readings confirmed it. Magnetic surges, plasma interference. The atmosphere was unstable. It's pulling energy from somewhere, he muttered. Like the storm itself is alive. Kalira's eyes widened. Then we don't fly through it. We have to, Ryan said firmly. If we wait, it'll hit the village. Kalira looked at him in disbelief. You would risk your life for a people that laughed at you? Ryan gave a tired smile. A pilot's job isn't about pride. It's about who's still on the ground when the sky falls. They turned toward the storm. Karen roared, lightning flashing across her wings. Kalira's Ikran followed. Together they dived into the wall of thunder. The wind hit them like a hammer. The sky screamed with electric fire. Rain slammed against Ryan's faceplate, and the light flickered until everything was glowing white and blue. Karen fought the current, wings straining against the storm's fury. Through the neural link, Ryan could feel her exhaustion, her pain, and her determination. Hold on, girl, he whispered. We're not done yet. Kalira's voice came through the comm, weak but steady. If we die, I'll haunt you, human. Deal, Ryan said with a grin. Even as lightning split the clouds ahead, inside the storm everything was chaos. Wind twisted in every direction, tearing at their wings. The lightning wasn't random. It moved like veins, forming shapes, faces almost alive. Ryan's instruments went dark. The neural link flickered. For a heartbeat, he and Karen were separated, mind from mind. Panic flashed through him. He could feel her fear, her confusion, her instincts screaming, fly higher, fly away. Karen? Stay with me, he shouted. He reached for the link, focusing every ounce of willpower into that single connection. The bond pulsed faintly, then flared back to life. He saw through her eyes again. The electric storm, the flashes of blue and violet, the distant mountains far below. And beneath it all a strange pulse, something ancient calling through the clouds. Karen let out a deep echoing cry. She wasn't afraid anymore. Together they climbed higher, wings cutting through the chaos. The storm broke around them. They burst through the top into open air, a sea of clouds glowing gold and violet under the twin suns. For a long moment, there was silence. Only the sound of breathing and the whisper of wings. Kalira's voice came softly through the static. You really are insane. You're welcome, Ryan said, smiling faintly. Below them, the storm began to fade. The village and cliffs were safe. Kalira's Ikran flew closer, her amber eyes meeting his. You don't fly like us, she said. You fly like the sky itself owes you nothing. Ryan looked down at the world below, the endless mist glowing in light. It doesn't, he replied. The sky never owes. It only tests. As they glided back toward the cliffs, Karen gave a long, proud cry that echoed across the world. The aliens below looked up in awe. In that sound was something new. A message, a memory, a beginning. The storm had tested them, and they had passed. The bond was no longer a secret experiment. It was legend in motion, and as the suns dipped low, painting the sky blood red, Ryan whispered to himself, We didn't conquer the storm. We became part of it. Karen's eyes glowed in agreement. For the first time in Pandora 9's long history, the sky had accepted a human pilot. The suns were sinking behind the floating cliffs, painting the world in orange and violet fire. The storm had passed, leaving the air heavy with rain and silence. Below, the alien village of the Aryans glowed faintly under the mist, its lights flickering like stars trapped in glass. Captain Ryan Holt guided Karen down toward the landing ridge, his hands trembling slightly. His mind still buzzed from the storm, part adrenaline, part connection. The link between him and the Ikran had grown stronger, clearer. He could almost sense her thoughts now, as if they shared one heartbeat. Karen folded her wings as she landed, her scales glistening under the last rays of light. Around them, alien riders watched in quiet awe. No one spoke. No one dared to. Rian slid off the creature's back, his boots touching the wet ground. His body ached, his suit was torn, and his neural band flickered weakly. But inside he felt more alive than ever. Kalira landed beside him, dismounting gracefully. Her silver hair clung to her face, her violet skin shining with rain. She looked at him with a strange mix of respect and disbelief. "You did it again," she said softly. "You survived the storm," Ryan smiled faintly. "You say that like you expected me not to." "I didn't," she admitted. Her words carried no insult this time, only truth. The chief approached, his long cloak dragging through the mud. His expression was unreadable. He studied Rian carefully, as though seeing something both dangerous and sacred. "You bonded with the sky itself," he said. "But with that gift comes risk," Ryan frowned. "What risk?" Before the chief could answer, Karen suddenly hissed, spreading her wings wide. Her scales flashed red, her eyes glowing bright with warning. Rian turned quickly, instincts kicking in. His visor flared to life, showing a pulse of energy rising from the forest below. Kalira gasped. "That's not natural." The ground rumbled. A deep mechanical hum filled the air, followed by a burst of light as something massive lifted from the valley, a dark metal structure half buried in fog. It wasn't part of the alien city. It was human-made. Ryan's blood ran cold. He recognized the design immediately. "No," he whispered. "That's Terran tech." The chief turned to him sharply. "Your people brought this?" Ryan shook his head. "Not mine, it's something else. A Black Ops unit, maybe. They were supposed to be gone." Kalera's eyes narrowed. "Gone?" Ryan clenched his fists. "They were part of the Skybond project, like me. But they didn't come to learn. They came to take." A blinding flash cut through the mist as the machine rose higher. It looked like a fortress floating on thrusters, its surface covered in turrets and scanners. Blue plasma lines ran across its hull like veins of fire. Then came the drones, dozens of them, black and angular, emerging like a swarm of wasps. They moved in formation toward the cliffs. "They're scanning for neural signals," Ryan said. "They're looking for me and for Karen." Kalira's face hardened. "They'll kill her to get what they want. Not while I'm here." Ryan sprinted to his ship, tapping the interface on his wrist. The small scout vessel was damaged from the storm, but its guns still worked. He linked its targeting system to his visor. Kalira jumped onto her Ikran, shouting to her warriors. "Protect the village. Keep the younglings hidden." The Aryan riders took to the sky like streaks of blue flame. Their Ikrans roared, wings flashing against the rising dark. Ryan climbed onto Karen again. She let out a furious cry, as if she too understood the threat. The neural link surged with power, sharper, brighter than before. "You ready, partner?" Ryan whispered. Karen roared, answering with thunder. They launched into the air, straight into the swarm. The first wave of drones fired plasma bursts that sliced through the clouds. Rian twisted with Karen, dodging the shots by inches. His neural band burned hot, merging his reflexes with hers. He didn't think, he felt. Kalira joined the fight beside him, her Ikran tearing through two drones with a single strike. The sky lit up in chaos, explosions, lightning, and fire blending into one violent storm. "Ryan," she shouted. "There are too many. Then we make them follow us." He dove low, skimming the treetops. The drones pursued, firing wildly. He guided Karen through narrow canyons, weaving between cliffs and glowing vines. Plasma fire scorched the rock behind them. Karen's wings strained, her body trembling, but she never slowed. She trusted him completely now. Rian reached for the manual override on his ship's comm. "This is Captain Holt to all Terran frequencies. You're firing on a protected species. Disengage now." Only static answered him. Then a voice came through, cold and familiar. "Holt, we didn't come to talk." "We came to finish what you started," Ryan froze. He knew that voice. Commander Veer, his old superior. The man who had led the first Skybond tests. The one who had called humans bonding with aliens a contamination. "You're a fool, Holt," Veer said through the channel. "That creature isn't your partner, it's a weapon. And we'll take it, dead or alive." Ryan's jaw tightened. He looked down at Kalira fighting below, at the Ikrans defending their home, at Karen's glowing eyes full of trust. Then you'll have to go through me, he said, and with that, he pulled Karen into a climb, straight toward the fortress above the clouds. Lightning split the sky again, turning their silhouettes into streaks of fire. The war for the sky had begun. The sky of Pandora 9 burned, flashes of blue and red. Light tore through the clouds as Ryan Holt and Karen climbed higher, wings slicing through smoke and chaos. The enemy fortress hung above like a black sun, its cannons glowing with power. Below, the alien riders fought bravely, but the drones kept coming, filling the air like metal locusts. Kalira's voice came through the static, ragged but fierce. Ryan, the villagers are safe, but the fortress, it's charging something. Ryan's visor flared with warning signs. He could see it too. The fortress core glowing brighter, feeding on the planet's energy field. If it fired, it would destroy everything within miles, humans, Ikrans, and Aryans alike. It's a fusion weapon, Ryan muttered. They'll burn the whole sky to get what they want. Karen growled, her wings trembling with rage. Through the neural link, he could feel her emotions, anger, pain, defiance. She understood what was coming. She didn't need words. Then we stopped them, Ryan whispered. No matter what, the fortress cannons began to open. Energy surged between them, creating a storm of blue fire. Drones formed a barrier around the weapon core. Ryan gripped Karen's reins tighter. One last flight, partner. The Ikran screamed and dove through the lightning, her scales glowing bright gold. Plasma fire filled the sky. Drones exploded around them, their fragments spinning like burning stars. Below, Kalira watched in awe as the human and his bonded creature flew straight into the storm's heart. He's insane, she whispered, and he's going to save us all. Inside the fortress skyfield, Ryan could see the gun ports and glowing conduits up close. Sparks flew from the hull as Karen's claws scraped against metal. He activated the ship link on his wrist, rerouting the power from his grounded scout vessel to Karen's neural band. The signal synced. I'm giving you all I've got, he told her. Let's show them what Skyborn really means. The Ikran's body blazed with raw energy. Her wings expanded wider than before, electricity flowing through her veins. The human technology fused with alien instinct, becoming something neither machine nor beast, something more. The bond reached perfection. Human mind, alien soul. One purpose. Commander Veer's voice echoed through the fortress comms. Holt, you're outnumbered, outgunned, and out of time. Stand down. Rian's reply was calm. You never understood, Commander. Flying isn't about control. He looked at Karen, her eyes glowing with fire and trust. It's about becoming one with the storm. He pulled hard on the reins, guiding her into a spiral dive. Karen roared and unleashed a blast of plasma from her chest. The energy from the neural band amplified tenfold. The shot ripped through the fortress hull, tearing a hole straight to the weapon core. Veer's voice turned to panic. You'll kill yourself. Maybe, Ryan said. But not my sky. Kalira saw the explosion from miles away. The fortress cracked open, lightning spilling out like blood. Still, the weapon continued to charge. Ryan, she shouted through the comm. It's going critical. You have to get out. But Ryan didn't answer. Inside the fortress, fire surrounded him and Karen. The energy core glowed brighter than the sun's, its hum shaking the air. Ryan's system screamed with alarms, but the link between him and Karen was stronger than ever. He felt her thought in his mind. Simple, clear, and pure. Together. Ryan nodded. His eyes softened. Yeah, together. They dove straight into the heart of the core. The explosion that followed shattered the sky. A beam of light pierced through the clouds, splitting the storm in half. The fortress disintegrated into dust and fire. For a long time there was silence. Only the soft hiss of falling debris and the distant cries of Ikrans echoed through the air. Kalira circled above the wreckage, scanning the clouds. Ryan, answer me. Nothing, her heart sank. She guided her Ikran lower, eyes filled with grief. The world below shimmered in gold light. The energy storm had calmed. The planet itself seemed to breathe again. Then through the smoke a shadow moved. Karen, the mighty Ikran, emerged slowly, wings torn, scales burned, but alive. And on her back, Ryan Holt. His helmet was cracked, his arm bleeding, but he was smiling. The alien riders gasped as the Ikran landed on the ridge. Kalira ran to him, tears in her glowing eyes.
You're alive!
Ryan groaned, unstrapping himself. Barely. Remind me to never argue with a sun bomb again. Karen lowered her head, touching his shoulder gently. Ryan placed his hand on her snout. The bond glowed one last time, soft, warm, and eternal. The Aryan chief stepped forward, his voice deep and full of awe. From this day you are no longer outsider. You are skyborn. The entire tribe bowed. Kalira smiled through her tears. Ryan looked up at the sky where the storm had finally cleared. 2 suns shone down upon them bright and pure. She did it, he said softly. She saved us all. Kalira tilted her head. You mean you saved us? Ryan shook his head. No, we did. Years later, the story of the human who rode the Ikran would spread across the stars. Pilots would speak his name with reverence. The Aryans would carve his likeness beside their gods of wind. They would call him Rian Holt, the Skybond, the first to unite man and beast under one sky. And whenever storms rolled across Pandora 9, the villagers would look up, swearing they could still hear the sound of wings, the echo of a bond that defied everything, a human and an Ikran, flying together forever. The legend of the Skybond had begun.